Hey all, here are OS Reviews taking a quick look at a compact mini security camera in this video from FUVISION, and what makes this one unique is it has two camera lenses. So one is used as a telephoto 3x optical zoom lens, and the other one is kind of a wide angle instead. So the setup here is similar to on some smartphones these days, where the ultra-wide angle allows you to see more within the frame of your shot, compared to the telephoto where you can zoom in and still get a bit more clarity. In fact, it touts 6x hybrid zoom, so 3x optical with additional 2x digital assist, getting closer to your subject, allowing you to see details like faces or text a little bit more clearly. So it provides you with more versatility compared to single lens camera setups. And this particular model also supports 4G LTE connectivity, so you can even use it in more remote locations, maybe in a cabin in the woods, for instance, that is not really available with broadband or Wi-Fi. You can use cellular data instead to still see the video footage live in real time. So it should be pretty compact, easy to mount, and almost hides in plain sight, not quite as large as other security cams, although one downside of this model is there is no motorized base, so there is no pan and tilt function that you can remote control to give it even more versatility. Instead, it's just using kind of a simple snap-on piece that you can twist on physically to move around, but hopefully the ultra-wide-angle lens should be good enough to capture mostly what the camera is pointing at, and also it just helps the camera remain pretty small in form factor. It supports up to 128GB SD cards, and the free plan in the app will store content up to 30 days for things like alerts, and the video resolution here is 2K, so it should be a little higher than, again, Full HD or 1080p resolution. Last but not least, this model does have a built-in battery, so it's able to last around 10 to 15 days if you're just setting it there, and it will detect motion and begin recording a snippet, up to 20 days, again, in that lower power consumption mode. I'll also take a moment to mention that these dual lens security cameras are becoming more and more popular, it seems. There's quite a few models from Reolink, for instance, that have become available recently, although a lot of these models are using the two lenses in different ways. For example, one approach from Reolink is stitching the image from the two camera lenses together to give you an ultra-wide angle view of almost everything at once, as you can tell there, eliminating any blind spots. Compared to this one, again, it's using it for telephoto zoom, giving you more clarity if you're trying to get up close to the objects. But to my knowledge, there is no model available yet that has all three camera lenses, a super ultra-wide in addition to telephoto. It's funny because these security cameras are now becoming closer and closer to smartphones from a setup perspective, but just making it more versatile. Now inside here we have just a quick user guide. We also get a standard USB Type-C charging cable, and then we have a mount that has kind of a twistable hinge that you can use to rotate the angle as you're positioning it. The camera itself will snap into this bracket, which houses a standard tripod thread as well. So you can pop it onto a tripod mount if you already have one. There's also going to be a SIM card ejector pin included, again for the 4G LTE card that you can snap in, and also more permanent screws are included if you want to mount it onto a wall. So here is the actual camera itself. Still remains relatively compact. Here it is next to a smartphone just as reference, and we have immediately those two camera lenses. It looks kind of funky, almost like a face. And down below here are some infrared beams that will illuminate objects in the dark, so you can capture it in monochrome black and white when the sun goes down. The micro SD card slot charging, as well as a power switch. So there is a pre-inserted nano SIM card that is in here, but obviously you can use your own. It's unlocked with AT&T or T-Mobile, maybe prepaid plans you can pop in and still have access to the camera footage. The included one, though, gives you kind of a free trial for 30 days, and interestingly, it's using EiotClub, which is a pay-as-you-go provider that we have reviewed on our channel previously. So if you're curious about the reliability of their data, we actually tested it when traveling to a couple of other countries, and it seems to be doing decent enough. You can check out that video as well, but it looks like they just partnered with EiotClub. And last but not least, there is a loudspeaker and microphone at the very bottom here that can pick up sound, as well as give you two-way walkie-talkie communication. We've gone ahead and attached the camera onto its little base, and the companion app is called U-Box, which is one that we have seen on other more generic security cameras and other past FUVISION FUVISION cameras as well. We can tap to add a device and then set up a 4G device by scanning a QR code on the back of the camera. Afterwards, you can rename the device as well as set it into a different location. I'll also mention that this camera is 4G LTE or cellular only, so there is no Wi-Fi built in, which is one slight con, because I would have preferred if they had the ability for you to use either Wi-Fi or 4G cellular, depending on your preferences and what is available as backup. But this one, again, can only use cellular connectivity. It also means you have to be in an area that's maybe closer to a window. For instance, if you're in a basement or some type of apartment where there's more floors, then perhaps the antenna reception will also be weaker because it will be similar to a phone in that regard. So just keep that in mind, but at the very least, again, if you are in outdoor situations, it will still function. Right now, this one is online. The feed is then familiar, like other security cams. Right now, we're in the wide angle field of view, which is around 130 degrees, I would say. A little bit of lens distortion on the outer parameters, but you can see more within the frame of your shot. And there's also going to be the timestamp info on the top, which is automatically calibrated using the internet properties once it's paired. You can also check out the battery percentage remaining in the camera's battery, as well as the antenna reception for 4G LTE. I was getting around 2 to 3 bars pretty consistently, as long as I wasn't covering up the camera with my hands or going into a zone that was too secluded. Again, not too dissimilar from most smartphones, and it is technically using either AT&T or T-Mobile coverage for EiotClub. It will switch dynamically back and forth based on the stronger cell reception in your area. Anyways, from here we're able to also full screen the view to just take a look at a little bit more detail. We're also able to pinch in and pinch out, and you'll see that when you get into the 6x magnification, it will switch automatically into the telephoto lens to give you a little bit more clarity. So if you're magnifying it to, say, 2x, it actually might be fuzzier compared to, say, 3x or 6x, because then it will switch over into that second lens. And again, you're able to just see a bit more textures of the leaves outdoors. For comparison, this is what the kind of current frame looks like in front of us using just the camera. As a security camera, I would say it's doing all right. Again, colors might be a bit more washed out versus reality compared to more expensive phone cameras, but it still is good enough just to make out details as you're looking at it. And you can also crop into different sections on the phone screen as well. Again, zooming in, you can see that kind of snap into the telephoto zoom lens, giving you a bit more clarity. So it works decently, but again, because of the cellular connectivity, you have to expect maybe a split-second delay sometimes between some of the animations, but all in all, not bad. It is working as expected. You can also change between a standard resolution and a slightly higher res preview that will also consume a little bit more bandwidth. From here, you're able to record video as well as take a snapshot that will be saved onto your phone's built-in memory. And if we tap on the microphone icon, this will actually be pushing the sound onto the speaker of the security camera, as you can hear there. So you're able to talk and have that walkie-talkie communication. Controls are otherwise quite simple. Now down below here, you can also take a look at any events you want to save onto a SD card in the camera, onto your phone's gallery, as well as in your cloud drive if you activate that 30-day free trial. Now under more advanced settings, you can also take a look at flipping the camera position. If you are maybe mounting it upside down, you can change that orientation, mirror the image. The sensitivity of the motion detection can also be adjusted, as well as a scheduled recording can be set up. So for instance, if you want to only record during nighttime hours, also when motion is detected, it will record for X seconds onto the cloud. So you can change it to be longer or shorter. And returning onto this main home screen, again, if you have multiple cameras or you purchase different sets, you can see all of the live feed at once by jumping back and forth between them. The application here also allows you to share the video feed with other users. So you can type in their email address, and folks with the link can also take a look at that. So you are able to see how many people are looking at the footage at a point in time. And also under more advanced settings, you can do a quick network diagnosis to see if it's connected to the camera successfully or not, and check out the specific latency in terms of milliseconds between what the camera is picking up and what you're seeing. But again, in most cases, it works well enough just for kind of monitoring and surveillance purposes. And indeed, that 3x zoom just makes it a little bit sharper as you're cropping in. For example, using that primary ultra-wide angle lens, it looks something like this, compared to, again, this one, cropping to the same part, you just get a little bit more of the branch details there in the foreground. And as it moves into a darker environment, you can see that the infrared beams will automatically start and it will flip into the night IR mode. But once it detects there's enough light around you, it will then switch automatically into the daytime color view instead. And the night mode itself is not bad, as you can tell. Clarity is still decent when it comes to detail and legibility, it's just everything will be in black and white. But even in this view, you can still see out around a meter or two without too many problems, I would say. And last but not least, I'll also mention that if you return onto the main home screen and you tap on Cellular Data Query, this is where you can check on the validity of the included SIM card as well as how much data you have left, depending on how much data you are consuming. So 60 gigabytes will be a bit more versus kind of a lower consumption of data. If you're in primarily a offline mode, it can be a lot less expensive. Quick example of the activity or motion detection in practice. So once it knows that something has moved in front of it, you'll get a push alert on your phone. So anyways, that is more or less it as far as this FUVISION D9 4G security camera. And I guess the most interesting part about this model, again, is the dual lens design. Having that telephoto zoom capability is one of the growing trends, along with having kind of a stitched ultra-wide angle lens capability on certain other models. So what do you guys think? Is a secondary lens something that you guys would find practical in a camera? Why or why not? You can learn more details if you are interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Review.